Tav, there goes the season.
Yeah. Yep. That's it drifting away now. Goodness, dude, what an ugly back-to-back performances there. Man, I
Everybody
didn't
else showed
expect that.
up in this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a big glaring weakness on this football team right now, and I'm not sure what the answer is.
You're watching Domed in Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Domed In Pod. You guys know how this goes. We're gonna go ahead and run you through game flow. Then we're gonna break down our key plays. We're gonna go for 3 stars. We're gonna do a little media roundup. Um, do us a favor, like and subscribe. Orange fans, football content might get pretty negative here. We might get, a little bit depressed, but we do have basketball right around the corner, and we'll be covering that nonstop as well. So, go ahead and throw us a like and subscribe, and let's dive into this game flow.
It's almost hoop season.
All right. So this game, SMU starts with the ball. Defense does a great job, and they actually force a punt right away to start the game. After an initial Kevin Jennings run where I was a little worried, I was actually super impressed with how the defense bounced back there. Syracuse then gets the ball. We go on a 12 play, 41-yard, 7-minute drive, and are unable to punch the ball in the end zone. This drive was pretty evident, I think, Tav, of how the rest of this game was going to go. We did not really throw the ball.
It was clear what the initial game plan was, where we were sensitive and thought, frankly, we just aren't super confident in, and clearly that's quarterback right now. And frankly, I mean, it actually looked good the first, 8 to 10 plays. The drive sputtered out here at the end, but I actually thought this was right. Like we started, we got Willis kind of a presence in this game. He was the first carry of the game. The ball was moving. Like the beginning actually wasn't horrific, and then it stalled out at the goal
No, but
line
one of
there.
the things I think that we saw in the scheme, especially when Angeli was around, was when we got tight to that goal line and everybody's stacking it up against Willis, we were able to run some plays on the outside where it was a quick throw for Angeli to get a guy open, and that just doesn't seem to be available in this playbook anymore, unfortunately, with Ricky.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it. We tried later, and it was open. But
Um,
yeah, this drive, I know we'll talk about it here in a sec. I didn't love the last couple plays of this. Mostly the sneak wasn't my favorite call here, but the play before the third down play, I don't really need Willis leaving his feet before the 1 yard line on that play, and it came up a couple times in this game. We got to be able to rely on our 240-pound running back to put his head in there and get half a yard or a yard. And he didn't do that a handful of times yesterday. And we talked about it the week before. He's dancing a little bit. He's hesitating. He's a very good player. I don't know what we're not seeing on the sideline. Like, this needs to be something that we call out and correct. Like, he needs to hit the hole harder in short yardage situations. And it happened here on the goal line. He leaps, then we obviously lose confidence in that for whatever reason, even though we ran it 3 times from like the 8 to get it to the half-yard line. It's a bad spot. Then we sneak it the full yard, isn't really close, and all of a sudden we squander this opening possession.
I hate the fucking sneak. Unless you've got Jalen Hurts or uh, Byron Brown from USF back there, a guy who's squatting like a shit ton of weight. Don't do it.
And
Um,
two, dude, the spot was bad. I don't know what our issue seems to be though. Like, I don't know that we're communicating great about distance on some of these short yardage situations. Like, it's not all the same, like 6 inches is not a full yard, and especially when you have a 180-pound quarterback. Like, we just got to be more cognizant of those things. I don't know what you thought about that specifically, but like when you see that spot isn't great,
no,
I
for
don't know.
me, I
It
just feel
should
like
reinforce. It's kind of, you talked about it a few weeks ago, like the 2 yard tush push. It's like, let's just be
I
smarter about some of this stuff. I
I
agree with
get
you in
it.
general, though.
I get it, but I think last year we did a lot of QB sneaks because Kyle was so smart, and it's a
Yeah,
different kind of thing when you got a guy like Kyle back there who can sneak like Tom Brady could. You know what I'm saying? And that's different. Angeli wasn't very good at the sneak in the beginning either, and I didn't like it then. You've got Dan Villari who used early on that drive, who we were praying for them to throw him in fourth and short shotgun runs because he
it
can get a
worked.
yard pretty easily, and he got that one pretty easily. Um, and so if you're going to do that kind of play, I don't understand why you don't go back to Villari on the goal line there.
Yeah,
I also think, the more they could have used Villari even earlier in the season in those situations, you could eventually set up a quick throw for him, a little jump pass situation, which would be wide open if you
yeah,
wanted to go to it at some point. So I think there's just a lot of ways that we could have schemed up better on fourth and short. I do completely agree with you on the Willis stuff. He's got to stop dancing in the backfield.
yeah,
And on the fourth and short, you know, he's got to get those yards on later in the game. But
yeah.
this is an example of, okay, he didn't get it on the third and short, but
Just give it to
he
him
was
again.
trying to jump, whatever. I get it. He should have then been given the ball again and
Yeah,
told not to jump. I
yeah.
get to trying to jump every now and again because, maybe you surprise the defense. But if you just give him the ball and tell him don't jump and go straight through, he's going to get it.
Yeah,
I
I
just
mean,
don't understand because it doesn't seem like there's any coaching being applied here.
I agree. I don't understand. I mean,
If we're
jumping thing could
observing this, I
probably.
don't understand how they're not observing it.
I'm with you, and the jumping thing probably is something that could be said a couple times because he's now trying to hurdle guys pretty much every quarter and a half at this point too, which I don't think is necessary all the time. So I'm with you, dude. The answer there was just give it to the big fella a fourth time and let your best player get his head into the end zone.
Or go back to what was working with Villari. I think there's options. I don't think it has to necessarily be like, oh, it's this or that all the time. Like, yeah,
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
you have other options, and I think of the options you have as a coach, the sneaking it on 4th and 1 with 110-pound Ricky it's not working. It didn't work with Angeli, who's bigger. It's not going to work with Ricky.
And we had it twice on that drive already, and we ran the two other things we're talking about, and they worked.
So stopped on 4th and short. They get a big run on the next drive, and I thought, oh wow, this game's over. Whatever. Uh, we actually end up getting them to punt again, so the defense holds here. We get the ball back inside of our 10, and Ricky throws just something miserable. I mean, he throws it into triple coverage to a guy that who's not. I mean, Dan couldn't have been less open on this play. He throws it like directly into Dan's chest, which made it very easy for the linebacker to intercept because all he had to do was like reach down and get it. I mean, it was a terrible, terrible throw.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Ricky decided he was throwing that ball while SMU was punting to us.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
mean,
or he was told to throw that ball. I don't know what it is, but
I mean, that's a quick read, right? It's like I think there was three receivers to the right. He just didn't read the concepts. Like all three guys sat with Villari. If he waits literally half a second, there's going to be guys running.
well, there's actually, if you look at it, I had a freeze frame of it that I sent you. If you look at it, there's one Cuse guy who's busting through the middle of that. That if he just holds it for another second, that guy is so wide open down the field because everybody's looking at Villari.
Exactly. And it's like that right side, you've got the three guys. The one guy's getting open in the middle. There's another guy, I think it's JRS, who's going to be wide open on a little out. And then on the left side, there's a guy who's going to be wide open in the seam.
And the other thing is, the reason that is the case is because Ricky is staring down the receivers. He is staring at them the whole way down the field.
Totally. And like I said, like he decided that ball was going to Dan like 5 minutes before that ball was snapped. I mean, and he didn't look anywhere else. Snapped it. But
if you're gonna predetermine a read, then look off the read and go back to it. You're going to it, right? It's like these are the kind of things I don't really get of why they're happening. And I mean, I think I get why they're happening. He's not.
Yeah, it's just not a great feel.
He's not good enough to play at this level.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say he's not.
Feel
he doesn't have a good enough feel for the quarterback position. Physically, it's fine. Physically, it's all there. When you see the short clips and training camp clips, it looks fine. He throws a very pretty ball. When he does have his moments where he throws one down the field to JRS, it looks fine. But the problem is there's too many guys running open down the field. And even when guys aren't open running down the field, you can just see with him that he's staring guys down, right? He's just staring people down. And he is staring down Dan Villari in triple coverage. And again, if he's going to predetermine a route, you got to look away from it and go back to it.
Totally. And just, this was time. We were on the phone when we were literally talking about, wow, the defense has stood up strong here for a full quarter. I don't know how much longer this can last. And
I think I was a half second ahead of you, and I was like,
were.
oh, well.
Oh, no. Like, I was waiting for it. It was worse than I was anticipating. I was hoping it was taking a shot down the field. Like, these are the really bad ones, dude. These quick hitch interceptions, like, this is a pretty bad indicator for position overall.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to mention is this is not a stout defense. This was not a good defense. We had guys running wide open down the field. If we could have, possibly scored on that first drive, gotten the ball back, and then continued to run the ball in the next drive, like we probably could have been up 14-0 on this team because they weren't stopping anything, right? So here's where the game flow kind of gets important in my opinion. You don't get the touchdown, you get the ball back, and you give up an immediate interception, right? And like I know Nixon likes to pass the ball, but we have to do something different. I understand if we're not going to change quarterbacks because we don't think there's anybody else back there who's better. I don't know how you could say that after watching that game because you can't be worse. And if you're not going to go that route, then the playbook just needs to be completely scrapped and completely changed. You need to go heavy into the run game. You need some Dan Villari back there. You need Willis. You need Nixon. You need Hart. I need 4 or 5 guys getting carries. And I know you're laughing, but like this has to be changed because that interception, you cannot continue to put your defense and your players in positions where on 1st and 10 from the 10, you're throwing a 5-yard interception. You're going to have kids quit. You're going to have kids quit.
I agree with you, dude. I think you saw the body language was bad later in this game. We'll touch on that. It was not good from
we'll touch on that as we keep going. But here my point is game flow gets a little bit away from you, but to me, we're still in a pattern here of this was not necessarily, in my opinion, the most well-coached game. I would have liked to have taken a field goal to start. You have a lead. You then force another punt. You get the ball back. Run the ball.
When I agree with you, especially when we had kind of gotten our way into a couple steps. We had a long drive that stalled out. We had kind of killed the first quarter, right? Like it was kind of like, all right, this is a game now that maybe we can keep this in a race to 2024 range, and that's like a reasonable football game for us.
And that doesn't make SMU comfortable. That's not how SMU wants to play.
Totally. And that was maybe a game that we could have hung around in for a while. And frankly, this SMU team is a mess. Like, there's guys running wide open. They did not look good yesterday, I didn't think.
They didn't look great on offense either to begin.
No.
And this is, again, the game flow thing, right? So we, instead of taking a 3-0 lead, we try to get a touchdown. We find a way to not punch it in. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we didn't score. I'm saying we found a way not to score. Then we go ahead and we throw on the first play of the next drive. When the whole first drive, you basically told me you weren't confident in this kid throwing the ball on your own 10-yard line. You're going to come out and have him throw. He throws an interception, and the defense, again, does a great job. They hold him to a field goal.
Actually holds, yeah.
And then we punt the ball again pretty much right after. We don't even take a minute off the clock. So we take 7 minutes on our first drive. We take 2 seconds on our next drive, and we take a minute 50 on our next drive. And that's what you're talking about. You didn't kill the clock. You didn't do anything with it. You just kind of let them get their feet in the game. So now they have their feet in the game to start the second quarter, and they're up 3-0. And all of a sudden, their offense starts to feel a little comfortable. Oh, this team's not going to do anything against us. We got the ball again. We're up 3-0. We make this a 2-possession game. It's over. They walk down. They score a touchdown. And that's it. And the game after that is over. I don't care what else happens. This game is over once they got a 2-score possession in the second quarter because we're not making that up. And our coaching doesn't seem to be able to grasp that we are unable to do that at this point.
Yep, that was pretty much the ball game right there when they got the ball back after what I believe was another was a 3 and out or a 6 and out.
So
Like
no,
that
so then
next
we go
possession.
downs. We go downs. They get the ball back. They score. We go downs again. They get the ball back and score. We then are able to muster up a field goal to end the first half. As we get to the second half, we punt the ball. They miss a field goal. We punt the ball. They punt the ball. We punt the ball. They get the ball. They score a touchdown. We score a touchdown. They get an interception. We get an interception. They get a safety. We get a touchdown. Downs. We throw another interception, and they kneel to end the game. So in the end, we threw 3 interceptions.
It could have been more.
Should have been more. We gave the ball up on downs
3 times.
3 times. I don't know where to go from there, man.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Like we even had 3 takeaways yesterday. Like it just it's a sad day if you're a Cuse fan, man. It's just that performance was pretty demoralizing, right? Like I think the overarching point should be here is like there's no reason Syracuse should not have been in that game yesterday, aside from basically we just could not do anything on offense. Like
At the quarterback
and
position.
it's the quarterback position. Like there's no reason to beat around this. Like the quarterback position is just it's a glaring issue and weakness, and I feel bad for Ricky, but you just can't have that. You can't play the position at that level in Power 4. It's simply not good enough, and I don't know where we even want to start with some of this stuff. But
I know where I want to start, and we've been having this conversation since yesterday, and we've been hit up in the group chats. Hey, what's going on, guys? Some of the boys are asking, what's happening, what's going on. People's perception, and not just our friends, but people online seem to think we trust Fran. There's not anybody better around. I don't know how you could say that after watching that game yesterday, because there's definitely nobody worse back there. I can tell you that. Um, and I don't know how you could say that because I've seen Dan Villari play quarterback even in a run only scheme, and it's not this bad.
I'm with you, dude. We were joking about it yesterday. Like we had a competent offense. I mean, competent is a weird way to put that, but it was a functional offense for a month of a season doing that. Like
I don't know how you don't think about going back to that right now, because if you're telling me, and I get it, Luke, you just brought him in as a freshman. Rich Bellin's also a freshman. Those guys don't seem ready to play. Jakari, we don't know. I think we've seen enough tape to know maybe that's not an answer either. If this is what it's going to be, I don't know how you don't mix in a lot of Villari running at quarterback, because I think you're going to have to run the ball. I think you're going to have to go 80-20 run.
yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I don't really see. I don't see how we can continue trying to run our old stuff with the personnel that we have at quarterback. Like it's clearly not working. I mean, like I'm with you. I gotta think there's another thing we could try here. Like this looks like. Tell me this doesn't look like Garrett Schrader with no elbow offense that we're running here. I mean, it's guys running. We have guys open. We simply cannot even get them the ball. Like it's just like
Garrett Schrader with no elbow, but he was more effective.
right. I mean, like that's the level of like just inefficiency and frankly poor play that we're looking at right now. Like it's been a while since we've watched the Syracuse team basically not score for 2 games, and then we got a bunch of garbage stuff in this fourth quarter. But do that against these 2 defenses, like newsflash, Duke and SMU are bad defenses. They're bad defenses,
Yeah, I'm not sure if
It's
anybody
not
was up
getting better
late
from
night
here.
watching Cal just
Yeah,
shred them.
yeah. And Duke ended up pulling that game out, but they were getting boat raced the first half of that game.
But their defense got shredded. I know they won, but their defense got shredded.
Totally. It's insane.
A team we could not score against.
No.
They had what, 21 in the first quarter?
Like first
Quarter and a half
17
maybe?
minutes or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so I'm with you, man. It's frustrating. It's sad. I'm not sure what the answer is. I would like to see us try something though. What the fan base, and I think you and I just don't have a tolerance for is watching what we've watched the last 2 weeks for the rest of the season. I don't think we
Well,
can
because we've
reasonably
watched it for how many years?
totally.
This is supposed to be, so here's where we got to go with this, right? Because this is now, we have to, I think, talk larger picture. This is supposed to be different than the Dino Babers era, right? We're supposed to be
Yeah.
deeper. We're supposed to be able to compete. We're supposed to have many people at positions, and we're supposed to be competing up and down the roster and all that stuff, right? That's the stuff that Fran talks about. I'm not seeing that.
No.
I'm not seeing the one guy gets injured and we have, multiple guys coming up. I have seen a little bit of that in the secondary. That is the
Yep.
one place where, hey, guys have gotten injured, guys have stepped up. Um,
Maybe receiver now too. We'll see. I
receiver,
yeah.
we're very deep at receiver. Um, I'd like to see more again from the running backs. Like, we ran for 110 yards, average of 3 yards per carry, if you include Ricky in there. I'd like to see us run more though, because that was effective. Um, the thing we have to talk about go forward is, what is our plan as we get into next year? I'm pretty much ready to say that this season is going to be a write-off now. We
Yeah.
don't necessarily have a top tier defense. I mean, it's young and it's been competitive at times. I'll give them a lot of credit. They've tried to hang in, and they're just not getting any help from the offense right now. So I think that, as Syracuse fans, I'm ready to say we're going to have to punt on this season. And if we do that, we need to do that with a focus towards next year.
Yeah.
We're hopefully going to have Steve back healthy from the beginning of next year, but that's not a guarantee that Steve starts the season healthy.
Not at all.
And if Steve is unable to start the season healthy, you need a competent backup.
Yeah.
And if that guy is not on the roster right now, because if you're telling me there's nobody better than Ricky, then the guy who's coming in next year to start for 3 games, maybe to start the season, or a couple games to start the season before Steve's 100% healthy, he's not on the roster. Again, I have no idea on Steve's medical clearance, what it's looking like. Obviously, any of that, I have no inside knowledge, nothing like that. And I don't want it to seem like I'm saying he won't or he will be healthy, but I'm
Yeah.
going to say that we need to plan like he might not be healthy to start the season,
It's a
because,
serious injury. Yeah.
and so what do you do now? Where do you go with that? Because you now need to hop in the portal. And if you're telling me that there is nothing else on this roster that can at least get you to semi-competent quarterback play this year and next year, then we need to remake that quarterback room, and we need to do it kind of quickly.
Yeah. There's to me that's your answer right there. It's exactly as you described it. Bringing in a quarterback, I think, is not negotiable in the portal this year. I think it's
I think you
something
might need to bring in two.
I don't disagree with you, dude. I think we'll see what we're able to get, but I think it's something we have to consider. And I think it. I know it's something you and I have talked about. I don't think we necessarily want to rely on this year to year to have to be needing to be a team that has to portal in quarterbacks every year, because that is a roulette game that can be catastrophic if you get the wrong guy. I mean, we're kind of seeing it right now, right? Like we brought into one of them, worked out. The other guy obviously is currently not. And so I'm with you. I don't think there's any other option. We've got to bring in at least one startable quarterback next year to be with Steve. And I think it goes back to a point you made in the offseason. You do need to figure out the high school recruiting and quarterback, though, because it's been a long time since Syracuse has actually found a solution out of that. Like Eric Dungy, I think, is the last guy that we've pulled out of high school. No,
I mean, then you had DeVito, but you couldn't develop him, and
that
he
wasn't a
went
win.
and
Like
went
I
to
would like
he
that's
went
I
to
would call that a
Illinois.
massive failure. Like
Yeah, I mean, he
he
went to
was a
Illinois
big
and was
time
fine.
recruit for
Yeah,
us, and he basically left in kind of disgrace. I mean, like we ran him out. Like he was
we
bad.
ran him out to go to a program where he figured it out pretty
Right.
pretty significantly.
And like it's been like we have had a lot of issues at this position trying to figure it out of the high school ranks. Like you take out Eric Dungy, dude, it is not a particularly pretty story to tell here. I mean,
Massive.
Nassib, I mean, Terrell Hunt, like that was a decade ago, dude. Like,
Since Donovan McNabb, those are the three guys that come to mind.
it's not pretty, man. It's not pretty, and so um, it's just something we got to think about as a program. And like, obviously, look, who knows? Maybe Luke, maybe Rich Bellin, maybe one of these guys. I think there's a piece of those guys that I'm not necessarily taking the other side of your assertion that there's nothing better on the roster. I do think those two specifically are physically a little bit underdeveloped, right? Like they're just kind of thin. And not that Ricky isn't, but you almost wonder maybe a year from now, are they physically a little bit more ready to play in a game just because they'll be in a college weight room and nutritional program for a year? I don't know. I'm kind of just spitballing here, and maybe there is something maybe to those guys, and it just needs a year. I'm hopeful of that, but we got to figure out how we're going to source the quarterback position a little bit, because I think just like trying to rely on a huge, top 10 program transferring down to us that's not going to happen every year, dude.
I'm understanding of what you're talking about with the freshmen, and I agree that sometimes freshmen just physically aren't ready to play, even if
No.
they're eventually going to figure it out.
These kids don't
I
look like the Cal kid. Do you know what I mean? Like he is
I
physically there. He's
I get
bigger.
it.
He's ready to
I
play.
I get it. Jaden Daniels started as a freshman when he wasn't ready. Like all I'm saying is like, hey, guys, do this, right? Like these would not be the first freshmen who are physically underdeveloped to start at the QB position in a pinch, right? And so you're telling me that we don't have anything better because you're telling me you're not going to switch the quarterback, right? Like if we don't get a switch at quarterback, you're telling me we don't have anything better. Even if that is the case, that hey, those kids, they just need a little bit of time. You cannot go into next season relying that those kids are just going to magically now be ready. You like, because what I'm trying to set the table here for, Tab, is that next year we could have a chance to do very, very well. We're going to have a lot of guys who are taking another year in the Fran program, another year getting better, and you're bringing back Angeli, especially if it's later in the season, who we both think was really, really good and kind of finding his groove. And so you're going to want to make sure that when he comes back, he's 100% healthy. You're not rushing him back. You're going to want him to be comfortable in there. You also, early in the season, there may be an argument of, hey, he gets, especially if we're playing, some other teams early in the season, hey, you give him a quarter, or hey, you give him a half before he really starts to fully get in the game.
Yep.
And you try to gear him up. I think you try to gear him up and you try to use the first 4 games. Even if he's healthy, I think you try to use the first 4 games as like a preseason.
I'm with you. I mean, just with it, we're talking pretty much the most severe
Injury you could have.
tendon ligament injury you can have, right? Like this is minimum an 8 to 10 month recovery here. Like we're talking start of the season at the earliest.
And it's all about explosiveness, that injury, right? And so what I don't want to have happen is him come back and feel like he's trying to, be the guy right away who carries the team, especially if you look out at our schedule and we have a few easier games to start the year. We don't have a Tennessee to start the year next year. I think we have like a few lower tier teams to start the year before we even get into our ACC play. Obviously, ACC schedules aren't set at the moment, but you do have that chance, I think, to kind of slowly build Angeli back up before you put him fully back in the game. And so that's why I think it's very important to know that you're going to have somebody who could be competent at that quarterback position, so that you don't feel like, hey, Angeli needs to start day one, because you might have a team next year that could actually compete again.
I'm with you, dude. The other thing too is, and I do just, I'm with you across the board. I think I totally agree about using sort of the first couple of games as a preseason for him, particularly with likely how the schedule shakes out for us. We're not going to have that huge preseason test at a neutral site next year. The other thing I do just want to make sure I keep even myself in check with a little bit is like, I do think I even maybe got, I think even collectively got a little bit ahead of our skis this year. Like Steve started to look good and it started to look promising, right? This year, I think we kind of started to, think 8-9 wins maybe isn't crazy here. I think if you told us back in March that this outcome this season was possible, we wouldn't have told you this was crazy, right? Like I think we
No,
like this was a roster kind of changing, right? Like we lost a lot last year. We did lose a lot of older players who were in significant positions and had been here a long time. Well, I'm not giving this any sort of excuse for how this
no,
looks right now these last couple of games. I do macro level, like I think we were starting to get a little bit ahead of pace. I think now we've kind of brought ourselves sort of back to probably where we maybe should be about this year, given schedule, kind of what the roster looked like coming into the year, just the youth on this team. But I still want to see us we need to have a plan heading into next year,
I,
because even that said, I think we have now had some variables into this season with the quarterback getting hurt and having a lot of ambiguity heading into next year. Like, I think the point you're kind of stressing here is we may not have one quarterback on the roster to start next season, and that's something that is a little bit scary as a fan right now.
I'm totally in agreement with you. I think that's a
Yeah,
really, really great point. I think it's a really great point that let's take a second to step back out and kind of like you're saying, macro, 30,000 foot level, all 22 of the program.
yeah,
What does it look like? It looks like what somebody who's taking over a program that hasn't been built in a way that it's going to consistently compete looks
yeah,
like. You got holes, you had a little bit of a veteran roster, you turned it over. Now you've got a ton of talent all over the place, right? But it's all young, right?
yeah,
And you bring in a couple quarterbacks, one works, one doesn't work, and now you're kind of in this mishmash year of, hey, our
yeah.
quarterback got injured, and like you're saying, in it, which we are right now, it feels terrible because there was a kind of
There was some
guiding
hope.
light with
Yeah,
Steve, right?
yeah.
And I think that the other thing that we look at is we look at these ACC defenses, we look at Duke, we look at SMU last night, and they're just not that good.
No, I mean this is a gettable conference top to bottom.
Louisville, Virginia, any of these schools,
Florida State. I mean, like even
Florida
some of the better
State,
teams, like we undressed Clemson. Like there's not a lot of great defenses in this conference.
outside of
Miami's it.
Miami, pretty
Yep.
much everybody, in my opinion, in this conference is gettable, especially if you have a good quarterback. And our
Yep.
defense has, they're young, but they've started to show that, hey, in moments we can step up here and there, right?
Yep.
Our defense is young, and we know the defense hasn't been good enough at times, but at times it has, right? And so there was this kind of feeling that, hey, we're moving in the right direction. A bowl game was for certain if Steve is healthy.
Yep.
And now you're looking at, hey, can we add to get to 8, 9 wins? Right. And
Right.
and that is where the expectations had all of a sudden jumped to in the middle of that Clemson game.
Yep.
Now we're back down to earth. We're looking like we've got to fight and claw our way to potentially even have a chance at a bowl game, and that's starting to look unlikely,
Yep.
if we're being honest. But now that we're in that mode, I want to make sure that we're not that if we punt on this season, we're punting on this season to make sure we're very ready for next season.
That's the message. It's if look, I think we are all kind of, let's be honest about where this sits. This season is just going to be what it is from here on out, right? Like we're not, a bowl game is a fucking aberration at this point. It's likely not happening. And so, right,
It's a Super
can
Bowl.
we, right, exactly. Can we get the development, and can we start to get a plan in place to figure out sort of what next year looks like? And I think, to your point, if we can check both of those boxes, the season is still a win, right? I think it's still a fine season. I don't chalk this up as like a huge disappointment by any means if we can knock out those two things, because I think, again, when we looked at this schedule, this roster in March, and you told us this is how it shook out, what we developed, we looked better, we've got this in place for next year, I think you and I would both say totally fine, kind of expected based on roster schedule, what this looked like coming into the season. It just obviously is a bummer when you start to get the expectations up a little bit. You see it click a little bit, and then it gets taken away.
Right. Right. Because I think the other thing is we talk about schedule, and I'm a big proponent of this. Everybody looks like your best teams, and it's like, oh, Syracuse is playing Tennessee and Clemson and Miami and Notre Dame. It's a terrible schedule. It's actually not that hard of a schedule outside of Tennessee, Miami, and Notre Dame. this is not that hard of a schedule. I think if we have Steve, we're going to compete with Georgia Tech, who I don't think is that great. Their pass defense is
I think
not good. Like Robbie Ashford was throwing against them. Steve would have thrown for 500 yard against Georgia Tech. I don't think Pitt is that good. Pitt has already had to go to their backup quarterback. By the way, they seem to have a backup quarterback that they could just take out their guy who was supposed to be the guy and go to a backup. Narduzzi's been there longer, so it's not necessarily fair to compare. But you have Duke. I don't think Duke is that good. And yeah, maybe we lose that game, but still, whatever. I don't think Duke is that good. So I don't think SMU is that good. I think if we have Steve, I think we would gut that
oh
team
no,
because there was guys wide open. You know,
that was
you have North Carolina. North Carolina's not good. BC's not good. So you're telling me that this schedule is really hard, but this schedule had a base of 6 wins easy if we had
oh
Steve, potentially 8 or 9. And then the top part of that schedule would have been very, very hard. But if we had Steve and we got the right kind of day, I don't know that he doesn't have a show out performance at Notre Dame, a big fuck you to Notre Dame, like you shouldn't
yeah.
have let me go. So I don't know that we couldn't have stolen in another one later in the season because to be honest with you, our defenses look better and better and better as the season's gone on, in my opinion. So I just feel like yes, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves of saying, oh, this schedule was always going to make us what we're going to end, which is probably 4-6, right? Or whatever it is, 4-7.
Yeah, I think 4-8 is probably where
4-8.
probably
Yeah,
where we're
sorry, four
tracking
and eight is
towards
what I
right
mean.
now. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I agree. I agree. Yes, I think there's certain games on our schedule obviously turn out to not be that tough, like SMU, Clemson. But this gauntlet of going to Notre Dame, to Miami, and basically playing a neutral site road game, we'll call that. That'll be my new invented term for that Tennessee game. Those are three of the toughest scheduled games in the country this year.
Right.
I think those
Right.
3 games, and so. But yeah, I'm with you. I think with Steve, this is very reasonably a 7-9 win team, right? Just looking at this schedule, it's just, yeah, that part is what hurts. But yeah,
And
man,
so that's
I
my
don't even.
point. That's my point though, is this was a 7-9 win schedule,
Yeah,
and then next year you pretty much don't have these same level of games. I don't know that we play Miami. I don't think we
I
do.
think we finally get away from Miami next. Hold on, I have this. Sorry, my good friends at FB Schedule's throwing me an ad here. No, we are able to avoid Miami next year, which is nice.
Do you
ACC
want to go ahead and read
opponents,
us our
it's a much
ACC?
friendlier.
Yeah.
We are at BC, at North Carolina, at Pitt, home versus Cal, home versus Clemson, home versus Louisville, home versus SMU, at Virginia, and home versus Notre Dame. So this is a significantly weighted schedule, I think, in our favor next year. Almost all of our tough games are at home. This is if we can get healthy next year, we can get this thing in a good spot. It could be another nice win total next season.
And the other thing is we're gonna have a bunch of these kids who, I agree with that. I think we're gonna have a bunch of these kids who are a little bit younger, and they're all gonna be a year older if we can keep as many of these kids on the roster as possible. Obviously, with the transfer portal era, anything can happen. But I think that you have a bunch of guys at receiver. You have a bunch of Jalen Hornsby's, Tyshawn Russells, even Williams who popped a little bit. You have a lot of guys here. Totally. So
Yeah.
you're gonna bring Willis back. You're gonna bring Hart back. Hopefully Malachi James will be healthy. You're just gonna have a different set of guys in some areas, but you're gonna have a ton of talent because of the talent Fran has brought in. And so, like I said, I think the most important thing now that I'm ready to admit that we got a punt on this season is gearing up to be ready for next season. I would personally like to see what my quarterbacks look like, even if they're undersized and underdeveloped. Let's see what they look like at some point this season just to see. But I think we're gonna probably end up sticking with Ricky. And I mean, I hope for Ricky's sake it gets better.
I agree, dude. I think some of this, I'm with you. I'd like to see other guys. I think the Ricky thing is just so tricky to me because, like, I'm with you. I think we've got to figure out something here, especially too, because it looks like. I mean, the guy. I don't think he's either not running or seeing the offense. Like, I don't know if we want to get into key plays or we want to just kind of spitball a little bit here. But I mean, we got to talk about the kind of sideline meltdown a little bit. I mean, you don't see that often from assistants in a college game. And I think I don't even necessarily blame Josh Gaddis for this. Like, there's clearly just mounting frustration from the offensive
So
personnel
So let's
on
talk about it because I think we should talk about it.
running
Let's
the
talk about
offense.
it. Josh Gaddis yells
Yep,
at Ricky on the sidelines. Let's do a little background before you jump into it. Josh
yep,
Gaddis is somebody we hired this offseason. He's a former offensive coordinator, Maryland, Michigan, some big programs. Fran brought him in as a quality control offensive specialist. But let's not get it twisted as quality control or his
no,
title. He is virtually right under Nixon, right? Like
yep,
he is very high up in the structure of how this offense runs. He might not have the exact title that you would expect, then you might call him a quality control
yep.
coach or an offensive specialist, but he was brought in to kind of be a right hand man to Nixon that could help, especially with the pass game. In the past, he's been offense coordinator, passing game coordinator at these different schools, trying to help fix passing games that maybe weren't working as well. He is a guy that I think if you ask, because Michigan household here, if you ask the Michigan fans, they weren't necessarily so impressed by Josh Gaddis. They had brought him in and they were a little bit let down. I don't know if the Maryland fans were that ecstatic about Josh Gaddis. So he is a guy that I think Fran's trying to bring in and help maybe rebuild a little bit of that reputation and whatnot, because he was kind of hot going into the Michigan job and then he kind of has floated about since then. And so now you're bringing in a guy, and he has been at big time programs, and I think he's seen it not work. And I think that's where the frustration for him is coming in.
That was going to be my takeaway, dude. Is Gaddis has coached in a lot of big time programs, dude. Whether it's always worked out for him or not, like, this is a guy who has the pedigree of working at the best programs in college football, right? He knows what it looks like when it's working, and he knows what it looks like when it's not working. And that back and forth was clearly indicating somebody's not running the fucking offense as it's being designed, right? And at that play, even specifically, it's the play right before the end of the half. I don't know how many times SMU can run a horrible cover 2 look, and we have receivers. We have a 4-on-2, and on the one side, it's a 2-on-1 on the right hand side. Ricky just will not throw the ball. He will not throw the ball. The guy is wide open.
It's
He will
JRS
not let it.
virtually in the end zone, nobody
He can pick
around
either
him.
guy. Neither guy is
Yeah,
being covered, really, and he just will not throw the ball. And that's when Gaddis screamed at him. You can see him screaming. It's a 2-on-1, throw the ball. Like,
you
and
could see him yell, "Rip the seam." I think you
yeah,
could see him yell, "Rip the seam," because JRS is just
yeah.
so wide open.
You can,
And
and
he
there's
also yells, "Throw the ball!" Like,
there's
what are
throw the
we
ball. Like,
doing?
there's a 2-on-1. You can hear him
Hmm.
see 2-on-1. It's like,
Hmm.
it's clearly just a kid who's not seeing the field right now. He's not. He's shell shocked out there, right? And it's when you see it happen like that, you know damn well the coach isn't the only guy on the sideline who's feeling that way, right? And you started to see it happen with the players. I mean, the Willis out at the end of the first half. I mean, Jesus, dude. Like, if we can't make that throw, you can't play quarterback in the
No,
Power. You can't.
that's a walk-in touchdown.
That
It's a
is as a
walk-in touchdown.
that is as a wide open layup as you are going to get in college football for a touchdown, right? And I mean, you saw Willis throw his hands up after that play, which I didn't love. You don't need to be showing up the quarterback even if it's a horrible throw. But the body language got bad. Like, guys were hanging their heads. They're clearly, we lost faith in the kid at quarterback, and it was coming down from the staff. It was showing up with the players. It's just like, it's a pretty glaring indicator that just it's not working.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's all right. I didn't hate it from Gaddis. I know
That's kind of fine
some
with
people
it.
thought it was inappropriate,
It was a pitiful half, dude. It was pitiful. Like,
but this is big time college football now. We're not. This isn't This isn't high school. This isn't middle school football.
Look,
This is college football. This is D1. This is Power 4 program shit. It
you're
has to
paying
be
Ricky.
better. Yeah, we're
Ricky's
paying
being
Ricky.
paid.
Yeah.
He's like, look, and I hate that this is how this has to go, but Ricky is making a nice six-figure salary to do this on this team, right? Like, it is what
has
it
to be
is,
better.
man.
Has to
It
be
is what
better.
it is. You
And
know?
so I have no problem with Gaddis ripping him on the sidelines. I think it just shows. I think it shows the frustration, but I also just think it's like, just shows like this could get really, really ugly.
I think what it almost reinforces is it's as ugly as you think it is when you're watching, you know. When you start to see the emotions break out on the sideline and there's no answer. I mean, there's no real answer. It just shows kind of like this is as messy as it appears on the field. Like, it's not pretty in the film room either. We've gone through it. Like, it's not.
I'm not looking forward to our next episode. I rewatched the highlights last night, and I'm just not looking forward to. Yeah, not looking forward to doing it again. And I'll end it kind of where we kind of began this discussion, which is everybody's telling me, well, the grass isn't greener. I've seen the grass. Villari grass at quarterback is not worse than this, dude.
I watched this one at Yankee Stadium with Villari at quarterback.
Yeah. And at least it's fun. It's tough. It's different. You know, you make people have to make decisions in that, and you know, yeah. I don't think Fran's gonna do that because I don't think he wants to lose the wide receivers. I mean, I guess we should probably talk about it. The Jonte Cook uncle, who we're not sure if it's actually his uncle, calling into the Cuse Talk Sports show.
Yeah, there was. I hope it wasn't real. I think it was, but
we'll save that for media roundup. Then we'll save that. I
hope
for the
it
media
wasn't.
Roundup.
But
so stay tuned.
Just a couple other random things I did want to note from the game. One, I really hope that's not the end of Justice Ross Simmons' career with Syracuse. That looked like that might have been a severe injury, dude. And I know he's had some injury issues at Syracuse. Even I've really enjoyed watching him play, even when it's been rough a couple weeks here. That guy.
I think this pod is a big JRS pod. We love JRS.
I like him a lot. He gives it. He's a leader. He plays like a leader. Like I really like that kid. I wish it would have went better at Syracuse if this is a season-ending injury. He's a local kid from Rochester, but I respect that kid a lot.
Listen, I know you say you wish it went better, but I do have to say a core memory for both of us is yelling at each other in the dome, getting really upset when we thought last year the season was going to go off the rails, and he just magically appeared and saved that game.
Totally.
And then this year against UConn, you know, the way he played in that game, the way he played early in this season, I know it didn't go perfectly for him at Syracuse, but I personally have a lot of very fond memories of JRS if this is his time here. And he's going to be one of those guys of like, you know, you're never going to look back and be like, oh, he was the best receiver we ever had because his numbers weren't there. But if you were like, oh, who's a receiver who's just a problem to go against? I will always remember, wow, there were SEC teams that physically could not handle this guy.
He had that front pylon, dude, the JRS zone and that front pylon. So I didn't want to give him a shout out because that was not it. It looked like potentially a brutal injury, at least a bad ankle sprain that he's going to be out for a while, I think.
Good call. All right, Tav, key plays. Let's do this quickly. We've already talked about this one. Ricky getting stopped on the 4th and goal to go right away in the early game. I would have kicked the ball. The one before this, when we got the Villari sneak, you're still too far out for me that anything can happen. And again, you get that one, great, but then you still give the ball up and you don't get points. So, you know, in a game where I thought we were always going to struggle to score, let's say, getting a lead would have been important. And then, you know, that sets you up differently for how the game goes. I know we already talked about that play. We hate the QB sneak there. We would like to go with a few other options, which is Willis running the ball or Villari running the ball or, I wouldn't even hate some sort of trick play or a jet sweep on that. But, we continue to go to let's load everybody in the middle and then let's run it with Willis right up the middle when everybody knows that's coming. And then let's have him either jump over everybody or dance or try to dance around everybody instead of just running it right up the gut. And then we're just going to sneak it if that doesn't work. And it's so predictable. You can see it coming and it's not working. We've talked about it the whole time. Spread them out and run it up the middle or keep it tight and do a jet sweep. There's not enough play variations on these where in these short yardage situations. And, I'm looking at it being like, I know what's coming. Then the defense probably knows what's coming.
Done this a couple times too, where we kind of quick snap this too. Like we hurried up to the line, like in a rush on this. Like to your point, not necessary. Like
we're not fooling anybody.
Exactly. Like, let's use some confusion here to make this work. Like, because yeah, man, I actually thought like last year we were so good in these situations. I mean, obviously having Kyle, a guy who just kind of knows how to find the gap to get half a yard helps.
But we ran like a you remember the jet sweep with LeQuint
that's exactly
on fourth
where I was
down?
Go with that was like last year we ran a bunch of jet sweeps that were effective. My answer here is the ball goes to number 6 again. Like that's what I wanted to see here was turn around, hand it to 6 if you're going to run this play again, and tell him do not leave your feet before the 1 yard line again. Like, but yeah, dude, I didn't love this call. I thought we rushed it. I thought. Again, the spot wasn't great, but we also just aren't assessing these things. Like we aren't doing a good job in real time assessing where the ball is, knowing that this call does not match up with where this ball was spotted, And like, I agree on the call overall, but with that, we have to know time and distance or like down and distance a bit better than we have in some of these situations. Like it's happened a few times now where the staff isn't diagnosing what we actually need here in these situations,
Totally. And it's like you said, it's a complete reversal from last year. I mean, like I love some of the stuff we did last year.
We were unreal in these situations last year,
Helped having Kyle. So again, you don't take the lead here, and I'm a big proponent of why are we taking 3 points off the board when we don't need to, especially when we're struggling to score. We take 3 points off the board here, and then we did a good job though on this drive of churning yards, churning clock. This is the way we should have been playing the whole game, not trying to turn Ricky into something he clearly is not. But we continue to try to do that, and we throw on our own 10-yard line when we get the ball back a mystifying interception into triple coverage. Key play. This essentially takes what could have started, what started for us as a potential grind this out, like you said earlier in this episode, try to make this a 21 race to 21, 24, it essentially opens up the game for SMU now. Gives them 3 free points, gets them the lead that they needed to start the game, and puts us behind again.
Yeah, I mean, this should have been 6. SMU dropped a touchdown in the end zone on 3rd down here. Like,
I mean, if this linebacker stays on his feet, he could have walked it into the end zone for a pick six. So
totally. Yeah, I mean, I wish we would just control the clock here, but this was just such an inexcusable mistake from the quarterback. Like, you cannot do this. You simply cannot do this. And it immediately kind of put the game, we're now on the back foot. We come out, mangle the next couple possessions, and all of a sudden this game is off and running, and we lose the game flow. And in a way that like SMU hasn't even played well to this point.
Or they did nothing to win this game at the start. Yeah.
SMU was horrible, and like by the end of the game, like they were ready to leave. They were
trying to give us the game at the end.
They were trying to.
Rhett Lashley was just so mad at everybody. He was mad at the officials. He was mad at his team. He's just mad. And I'm like, dude, this guy just knows his team is not good.
No.
But as you're saying, it gets away from us quickly. Let's dive into that because that's our next key play. So we give up the interception. The defense does a good job holding a field goal. We immediately punt the ball back. So you go from, potentially being up 3-0 with the ball and trying to burn off more clock to being down 3-0 and them having the ball in the start of the second. They score a touchdown to make it 10-0. And then here's where it really gets away. We have a chance to go for it again on 4th down, and we just keep going for it on 4th down despite a mounting evidence that we cannot get it on 4th and 1. We miss it on 3rd and 1. Willis doesn't get it. and then he runs it again on 4th and 1, and he doesn't get it. He did not do a good job here.
No, this sequence was entirely on him. Like if you're the offensive coordinator, the head coach, or the position coach, this sequence was unacceptable from him. Like, you want to be an NFL running back, you want the ball 25 times a game, you're handed the ball twice on 3rd and 4th and 1 where there is no backfield penetration. You get those yards, dude. You get a yard. You have to get a yard here. He danced twice. He's not hitting the hole with authority. He's hesitating. It's frustrating to me. And we've talked about this. Like, I don't know what the staff is not seeing. This is a simple fix. It is, you're going to run hard or you're not going to play. Like, that's what it should say. It's like, you will sit on the bench for a quarter if you're going to pussyfoot around back there. Like,
I'm sorry, but there's no way anybody's telling him anything, because
that's how I feel.
It's getting worse. If we looked at it because we had an argument about this. And in the Clemson game, this is not something we really saw very much of.
No.
Right? It's not something we saw in Tennessee. It's not something we saw at all in Tennessee. Right? Tennessee, he was great in these situations. The short yardage situations, he was just powering through. He was going right through guys. He wasn't letting guys tackle him. He was running guys over. Great against Clemson. Obviously, Colgate, UConn, whatever.
UConn had some of it, but it's.
I'm throwing that because UConn, we really didn't play well until the fourth quarter when Steve got us going. We were messy
in that game. Yeah.
Yeah. But in Clemson, it didn't really rear its head, and then all of a sudden, it really reared its head last week against Duke. And you called it out. It was abundantly clear on tape. It was abundantly clear on tape in a way that it hadn't been previously. We said, and I said personally, I'm sure you're going to agree with me, this is coaching now, because now we can see it. So clearly it's on tape. Can the coaches go to this kid and tell him, don't do this? We've seen the evidence of him not doing it, and now we're seeing the evidence of him doing it. Show him the 2 films and say, this is what we need you to do, and this is what you need to stop doing. Like you're saying, yeah, give him the carrot and the stick. Hey, you want more carries? You got to do this. You keep doing this, you're going to get benched, right? But yeah. It clearly, whatever message is being sent, if there is a message being sent, it's clearly not resonating.
Totally. I'm with you, dude.
This kid didn't become bad at running back all of a sudden.
I'm totally with you, dude. I think I think what's frustrating is it was said in the first quarter of the game that Fran noted this. Fran said he noted it, like that Willis needs to stop hesitating or dancing. But was it practice? Saying something to somebody one time isn't coaching. It's, you got to reinforce this, right? Like, and as soon as you started to see it happen in the game yesterday, it should have been nipped immediately. And it
should have pulled him and should have said, "Hey, look at this. We're going to watch it."
And it wasn't. And then we just start to have short yardage woes left and right. And that part is frustrating to me, because this kid is immensely talented. Like, you can see when Willis gets rolling. I mean, this kid is a big time player. I don't think he's being coached all that well right now. I'll be fairly honest. I don't think he is. Like, there's a lot of meat being left on the bone with him as a player right now.
I agree. And listen, if it's not going to work like you're saying, and you're in the middle of the game, you're Fran, you noted it, you said to do it, then you see it happen. Go away from it. Go to somebody else.
Send a message.
Have other guys on the roster.
Send a message.
Jaden Hart is a little bulldozer back there. You have Dan Villari. You can do jet sweeps with these wide receivers. You have talent.
You tell him, take a seat over there for a quarter. After he does that, I guarantee you he runs through the whole hard the next time he takes a carry.
I guarantee you he doesn't do it again.
Right, exactly. It just is. So, you want to move to the next one here?
That's it. Those are the key plays. After that, it's 4th down. They get another touchdown. They're on R40. They walk down. It's 17-0. Game's over after that.
The only other one I'll just toss in there is the one we talked about earlier, which was, I think it was 17-0, 4th and goal. Willis just wide open in the flat route. Ricky throws it about 6 feet behind him and over his head. That, I think, was the throw that you and I called each other after and just go, I don't know if we can keep doing this one. I don't know if we can keep doing this.
4 minutes left in the half. Ricky at the 10-yard line, 4th and 2 with Willis about as wide open as a guy's going to be. Walk-in touchdown.
I mean, literally just put it near him, like anywhere near him.
It's you know what it reminded me of actually when we were talking about it yesterday. I don't know if you remember, but the throw that Angeli made to Gill in Clemson, um, when he threw Gill the touchdown, and it was obviously a much harder throw, but Gill was so wide open.
It was literally just like get it out of your hand, like
No, the throw that you have to make in that situation was just put it so high up in the air that if you make a mistake with it, you're giving your receiver the chance to make the play. And Steve did a really good job of putting it up in the air with touch so that even though he missed that throw, he missed it high and to the outside. It had enough touch on it that it allowed Gill to go get under it because he's so wide open, you don't have to worry about the defender. So just put touch on it, put it up in the air, and if it's out to the right, let your playmaker go make the play. And that is the kind of like feel thing at quarterback that all the talent in the world and all the coaching in the world, you're not going to learn because that's natural. And so Steve was just naturally able to make that play of put it up in the air. It's not perfect, but it's going to work out because you have playmakers, and I know how to play quarterback and make the right play, even if I miss on a throw. And that throw is perfect because if he puts that up in the air for Willis
no,
towards the pylon, Willis is able to adjust, change his route, go make a play on the ball. But instead, he like throws it kind of hard, way over Willis's head, no chance for him. It's the kind of touch feel thing
it
that
was
it's not
frantic.
about.
It was frantic, dude. I think the number one indicator that like a quarterback just has no like it's just not feeling it and he's not comfortable and you're in trouble is when you start to see that frantic look, dude. It's like the ball's coming out hot, it's inaccurate, it's not on time, it's too early in instances, right? Like that was probably early. Like he just fired it. And it's like it's not dissimilar to the play that happened earlier in the game with Valari on the interception, where he just like snapped the ball, like frantic, guns it at the guy right in front of him, and it's like, dude, that's a problem. Like it's like what you see from like quarterbacks who start to struggle in the NFL. It's like the Caleb Williams thing. It's like he looks like he's running around like a deer on ice, and it's like, I'm with you, dude. It's just it clearly is just a guy who's just not comfortable playing the quarterback position right now. Like you basically took your margin of error way down making that sort of throw, and obviously it didn't work out. He fucking pelts it 6 feet behind him and over his head, and it's an incomplete pass, and they come down and score, and it's the end of the football game.
Game was over before that, but yeah, it would have been nice to get that touchdown.
You could have faked a competitive game there in the second half, 17-7. You get the ball back coming out of half. Who knows?
All right, those are our key plays. Let's jump into our 3 stars. Okay, 3 stars. Let's start with star number 3, and let's go with Demetrius Samuel. I thought Samuel was really good in this game, despite we gave up some passing yards in this game. I thought Samuel was pretty good. He had a couple pass deflections. I think he just continues to be a very, very solid player back there for us.
I thought he was great. Thought he was really good early. First drive, I think he had a nice pass breakup. I thought he was engaged. I've been pleasantly surprised with Demetrius, and I think what's actually really encouraging about him is whenever he's had a bit of a rough week, right, or like he just goes against a guy who's more experienced than him, whatever it may be, I feel like he's bounced back really strong the next week each time that's happened. Like Tennessee came back against UConn, I think was probably our best player on the field, maybe defensively against UConn in that game. Last week, I think Barkate we called it out, going to be a tough matchup for him in the defense, just like crafty, older receiver, played a lot of snaps in the Ivy League. Samuel comes back yesterday, I thought looked really good against what is actually a pretty good SMU receiving group, and especially in Lashley's offense. Like they can create
Good offense.
create space. It's good offense.
Yeah.
That's long story short, I was impressed with him, and I think just the general trajectory of him, the bounce backs after he has sort of just a tough challenge, right? He's a 17-year-old kid playing against ACC players. Like that's going to happen, and I think it's really encouraging to see him answer that as a 17-year-old the next week. Like he is learning quickly.
I think that's a very clear sign of a good player.
I agree.
The ability to bounce back. All right, number 2 star. Let's go ahead with your guy, Jamie Tremble. I know you kind of called him out earlier.
Yeah, I think I think Jamie is really making strides defensively. I'm still skeptical that we're always putting some of these guys in the best spots to be effective at all times on defense, but he popped. I mean, that play in the second half yesterday, I mean, that was like a nice pass rush move. I think he got inside the tackle and then, got Jennings to the ground, I believe on a third down play. Like,
Hmm.
that was some good stuff from Jamie. Like, that's what you see, like, that popped and he looked quick. And it's like, okay, you see that in practice. I get what Fran is saying about draft pick here. Like, this kid's got the athleticism to do this. And I think not dissimilar from Demetrius, this kid was getting better. He's getting better each week.
Improvement. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Improvement. I think we're seeing a lot of improvement from Trumbull. I think, he's being asked to do more too, which is a good sign, right? Like he's
Yep.
not just being put in to just rush the quarterback, head down, rush the quarterback. We've seen him drop out a few times. We've seen him maybe in a few more complicated schemes. And I think he's really starting to pick it up. He's making tackles in the field of play and he's getting to the quarterback. So overall, I've been really, really impressed with the improvement we've seen.
The three freshmen, I'm going to throw Jamie in as a freshman because he didn't really play last year. I think he's got a redshirt freshman tag too. But the three guys, I think, just to me on defense, and we've talked about a couple already, and another guy I know we talk about all the time. But Jamie, Antoine, and Demetrius as a trio of freshmen on an ACC defense are showing quite a bit. Like I
A lot of
think, like
growth,
I
a lot
know
of growth potential.
cohesively we still got a long ways to go, but if you're talking about things you want to see in a season that needs development year, those three guys are exactly what you want to look at. Like those are guys who are getting better, they're making plays each week, and they're contributing. And you can see that they're learning and trying to implement what is going wrong the week before and improve the next week. That's the sort of stuff that I am. Fran is right about that. Those are the incremental improvements that you want to see from the younger guys in those key position groups that are getting the opportunities. That's what's going to help us next year. And so I think these guys are actually taking advantage of these opportunities, and I'm hopeful it pays dividends in the line.
I think that's a great call, and I think that's why you want to be ready for next year. Finally, number one star, we're gonna go with David Amaporiola. I thought he had a great game.
Yep.
He really popped. It was his first really great game this season. He had 3 tackles for a loss yesterday. So again, I thought we were way more disruptive than we've been in any of the games previously.
I totally agree. I think this was the best game of his career at Syracuse, honestly. He made a bunch of disruptive plays. He was playing physical. He was getting downhill. It felt like we were just having him play downhill a little more yesterday, which I think is his strength. We've talked about that a handful of times. I'd like to see Jamie put in those positions consistently all the time too,
I'd
but
like to
we'll
see
talk.
David Reese put in those positions.
Right? So I'm completely with you. I thought he was really good yesterday, and I thought he popped. He some high effort plays, flying to the ball. I think this linebacker edge position group is improving. I will give credit to that position group here. I think they are getting better. We're finding the right mix of guys in there, and
I
you're
think we also
seeing
just have talent. It's young, but we have some talent.
totally. So
All right, any honorable mentions? I think Brahim Young is an obvious honorable mention.
yeah, I thought Brahim was really good at times yesterday, particularly early. I mean, he was making a ton of tackles, like one-on-one tackles. He was
Led
tracking
us
guys
in
down on the.
tackles.
Yep, a
Yeah.
lot of those edge tackles on those screens where we just cannot seem to figure out that, hey, when they line up 2 receivers outside, they're going to throw a screen pass if we throw one guy out there.
Every single time.
Adazio called it out like a million times on the broadcast. Like, how many times is Syracuse just going to let them throw this pass? Like, they're
I
not like
called it out. I mean, it's every single time. It wasn't just this game. It was last game versus Duke. We were just giving people
it's been a year and a half.
advantages. We're just giving people advantages on the outside and saying, if you want 8 yards by throwing a quick wide receiver screen, here it is.
Nobody makes the wide receiver screen easier than us. Like we just don't line up. It's to the alignment issues. We don't take it away. So yeah, that's that. But I
Our
thought he
defensive
was
alignment wasn't any better in this game, by
no.
the
But
way.
I thought Long actually was playing hard yesterday and was trying his best to try and blow up some of those screen plays. He made some good plays, stopping plays for short gains on schemes that probably should have yielded more based on what our alignment was.
You talked about him. We don't need to dive into him anymore because we dive into him a lot. But Antoine Delorier, I thought he was great yesterday. And then, Dan Villari had 5 catches for 61 yards. I thought he was pretty good when we got him the ball. He was hard to tackle at the very least. And then he obviously had the big first down on 4th down for us early in the game. And then Jonte Cook had 7 receptions for 82 yards. So a nice bounce back game for him after he had kind of maybe his worst game the week before.
Totally. I mean, the offense, like we're talking about, the guys are open, dude. I mean, we could have thrown for 450 yards today. Like there were guys open, and Jonte gets open in the slot, dude. He's a good college player. We've talked about this. Like he is a problem for these ACC defenses. They don't have personnel to match up with him in the slot. Like he is going to get open there. So yeah, it's just frustrating because we definitely have the playmakers on the outside to hurt teams. And we can scheme guys open. It's just a matter of we don't have anyone who can get them the ball right now.
And like you said, we could have been much. That was our 3 stars. Okay. This is our media availability. I don't have much for this, but I have one thing that we need to talk about, and that is Jonte's uncle. Supposedly, Jonte's uncle called into a Cuse talk show, and was saying that the dad has sent him tapes. We saw what we saw yesterday. Ricky's a high school quarterback. He's hurting Jonte's shots at going to the league. I think Jonte should be more worried about not fumbling the ball. Mess. A mess. That, I mean, it sounds like maybe they were trying to deny it's his uncle. I don't know where to go with this other than to say it's a mess. Ricky was not good, so I can understand why somebody might be frustrated. But I like Jonte. He looks like a nice little player. I don't know if we should be going pro after this year if I'm him.
I don't even want to get he's this year. Not as draftable pro, but I think Jonte is a good player. I think he's going to have actually a very good career at Syracuse if he stays. Like he's going to have a chance to have 1,500, 2,000 yards.
Even if he goes somewhere else, I think he should play college football another year and give himself a real shot to get to the league.
Yeah, totally.
By
completely
producing.
Agree. Exactly. My big takeaways are like, this is messy. This is very, very messy. And I have a hard time believing it's not some level of true, whether he's an actual uncle, or he's like a family friend, I don't know, but it seems like it's a weird thing to say if he's not, like I've never heard another caller call in, I don't think, to Cuse Sports Talk in a recent memory of doing this, and it was a lie, it's messy, right? It's the whole situation is messy. It's not ideal. I mean, in part, right, it's probably the reason why this kid's on his 3rd school in 8 months. I don't know if he's got the greatest, support system around him. And I don't and I don't even want to get into this really about him specifically because the kid hasn't done anything wrong at Syracuse.
No, he's been great.
Jonte's actually he's been a good teammate. He's
a great kid.
Working hard. Like I have nothing bad to say about Jonte at all. Actually, like I want him to do well. I root for him every week.
He's been great. I mean, outside of last game versus Duke, which was his worst game, and then he bounced back today, played great, had a touchdown. I thought Jonte's been good. How many times have we put him as a star, one of our stars? How many times have we taken to the film room to spotlight him making big catches, not just making catches, but making big catches, 3rd, 4th down catches? I mean, I think he's electric as a playmaker. I hope to see him at Cuse again next year if he decides to transfer somewhere else for a better opportunity. I won't hate on him for it, but I don't think he should be so deep down the idea that he better go to the league after this year, because I think there's still a lot of development for him, and physically as well as, developing as a player. And I think there's a realistic chance he could be in the league, but I think he's going to increase his chances by playing one more year in college. So if I was to diagnose this issue, what I would say is I don't think his uncle, or not his uncle, whoever it is, I don't think he's wrong. If you have two eyes yesterday, you watched Ricky and you said, that doesn't look good. That doesn't put us in a position where we're going to make the league, aka Trevor Pena was probably right, even though he made a bad decision after leaving to go to
Yep.
yikes, Penn State, where he's not being used properly, and where Drew Aller's incapable of making the kind of plays that he needs. I think, the other team that was maybe on the Trevor
Hitting a
Pena
drag route.
watch list, yeah, the other team that was maybe on the Trevor Pena watch list would have been Miami.
Could have
Um,
done that.
Maybe, but I actually don't know that he would have played over Malachi Tony, who is
No.
Tyreek Jr. This kid's insane. So,
Yeah.
these kids who jump around, it can be very dangerous to jump around sometimes. And even though if you're Trevor Pena and you make the right decision to maybe leave a school because they don't have the quarterback that you think can help you, you have to be very careful where you go because we said it with Ricky, the grass is not always greener. So again, we do have Angeli coming back next year. I think him and Angeli had a really good rapport, and I think Angeli's the kind of guy who could maybe help him get to the league. Um, and I think Jonte should stay in college another year. If he does decide to go somewhere else, I don't think Jonte should be looking for maybe a major payday the way kind of Pena did, where he took the money to go to the best school. I think he should really look at the opportunity where he'll get the most opportunities. So for his sake, I hope he really, tries to buckle down the rest of the season. If he wants to transfer at the end of the season, I don't blame him. I don't blame anybody in this era for transferring. It's going to happen. But I think he should think longer term than just like, hey, I need to get to the league tomorrow, and Ricky's going to stop me from doing that. Because if he does go somewhere else, if he stays at Cuse and he has a big year next year, he'll be lined up to go to the NFL just fine.
Totally. I agree with you end to end on this. I think like my takeaways are kind of like it's a set of three here. It's like one, we've got to clean this up from a program perspective. This cannot happen. Like we got to, I don't know what conversations we need to have. It just needs to get nipped right away because this is messy. You just can't be doing this. Two, I almost start to kind of feel a little bad for Jonte here. I'm not even like, not that I feel bad that he's at Syracuse. I feel bad more so like clearly this is a situation that there are
It's
a lot of
chaotic.
people that are in that kid's ear. Do you
It's
know what I mean?
chaotic.
And a lot of
Yeah.
people that think they have an influence or have a right to be in his ear. And that is not, he's not alone, right? As a high-end youth prospect who has to deal with this from a family standpoint. And it's not fair to the kid, candidly. Like whoever this is, whether it is his uncle or not, that's just mouthing off on like his behalf like this. Like Jonte didn't tell him to make this fucking phone call. Do you know what I mean? Like this is an adult acting like a child and putting his nephew, if it is that, completely in the middle of the crosshairs for no reason. Like it's just it's goofy and it's unserious. And I honestly, I'm upset
And
on
also,
Jonte's behalf for that.
and also, sorry, but also, if you think this helps him get to the league, you're
Not at
crazy,
all.
right?
No,
Like
it
this
just
is
makes
this is the
it paints
biggest
him
red flag for an NFL
again.
team.
Totally, 100%. Like it's just you're actually hurting the kid doing this. You're continuing to
Big
hurt him
time.
doing this, and so for that, I feel bad for him a little bit there because I actually think he's been a really good kid since he's been at Syracuse.
Totally
And
agree.
there's nothing to note or complain about at all. He's been a good contributor to the program. And all that said, I don't think the call was wrong about
No,
the status.
no.
of
I
the
mean,
quarterback.
anybody who has two eyes watched yesterday.
Correct. And I think, we can go back to the spring, and I know we've gone back and forth on it. We may disagree a little bit on things. There's a lot of things that happened in the spring that make sense around this, right? Like, I think going out and bringing in Steve late in the portal window, you saw Trevor leave. I think there's a world, right, where Coach Nixon and Coach Nuns had to have a conversation with Fran. And we're sort of like, this isn't going to work. Like, we can't go into the season with this room. Like, we're not going to win any games like this. And I think that's why Steve was brought in. It's obviously why he won the job. I think there was definitely a little bit of Fran trying to keep Ricky engaged with some of the, the lip service about the competition, which is coach speak, right? That's what any good coach is going to do. He's not going to bury the guy he brought in a couple months before. But I think that said, we can be honest about the situation at large at this point. Right. Like, the Ricky situation is not good. Like, it's brutal. it's clear it's a big drop off from Steve. And so there were decisions that were made in the spring because I don't think we were super confident in his ability to run the offense as it was designed. And
The other thing I'll just note on that, because I think it's a great point. The only thing I'll note on that is that Steve wasn't available when we took Ricky the first time.
no,
And
he wasn't.
Steve became available because I think it became pretty evident pretty early at Notre Dame
Carr was
that they
good.
really liked Carr. And
Yep.
that was going to basically remove Steve's chances of playing there. And I think you saw it when Steve did decide to transfer. Freeman was basically like, we think it's great for him, virtually without saying it, saying he wasn't going to play here.
Yeah.
And I think, they also had a QB competition between him and the guy who had been there, Minchie, because they want to keep Minchie engaged. But it was evident for Notre Dame, I think, early on, Carr is our guy. We're going to roll with him. So Angeli, it's best if you leave because you won't play here. And I think even if Ricky was really, really good, I think we still bring in Angeli. And I think you
we
have to.
considered it too. Yeah. Just
So
with
the
the
only
Nuns connection and everything, like
the only
it
thing I'll
wasn't
say is Ricky being good or bad, I don't really know that had a lot to do with bringing in a talent like Angeli, because Angeli is clearly a very talented guy. They also knew him really well, like you're saying, the Nuns connection. So I think even if Ricky had turned out to be a stud, I think you'd bring in Angeli for the depth in case of the reverse happening, right? Where if you had Ricky and he was lights out and then he got hurt, you bring in Angeli, and that goes again to my future point of understanding, like, yes, we have Angeli. Yes, Angeli is going to be our starter. We need to bring other competent people in to be able to play, because we cannot go through this again where you lose one guy and your whole season's gone.
Totally. I'm with you on that. Actually, I think we probably do still seriously look at Angeli. The only other thing I'll add is I think there was a little additional context around maybe Ricky just not be, just with Pena leaving and like some of that stuff. Like there was enough kind of like there was some smoke around that, like it was like, okay.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying from a program perspective, you're always bringing in that extra talented QB, and we should be, because this is the perfect example of why you do that.
Totally. And especially when we have the inside relationship with the kid, like, let's get him into Syracuse,
Right. If there's a kid next year who's like Angeli, who might be just as good as Angeli, you bring him in, even though you have Angeli coming back. Even if Angeli's going to start from game one,
question.
You bring in that kid, even in this situation, because hey, if we have this again, we don't want to just throw away another season.
No question.
The only other thing I'll say is Fran did have a quote, something along the lines of, I don't think we called the defense right in the first half.
Yeah. The defense wavered a little bit. Look, the second quarter wasn't great. I don't really know that this is the game to take shots at the defense, if I'm being pretty honest with you. I didn't think they were that bad yesterday, and if the offense showed any life, that's a very different football game. So, I honestly, I haven't watched the presser in full. I've only seen a couple clips. I'd like to go back and watch that, but last week, buried the defense. They were bad. They were not ready to play. This week, they showed up in the first quarter. Like, the reason we got down in that game wasn't really to do with the defense. I mean, eventually they fell apart a little bit, but we know that that's what that unit is eventually going to do. Like, I actually don't even think that's a particularly good assessment of what happened in the first half.
Agreed.